Unfortunately, she didn't get accepted into any nearby universities because her undergraduate GPA was too low. However, she did manage to get into a private, for-profit university that would overlook her low cumulative GPA of 2.3. The catch? It came with a hefty price tag of $20,000 per semester. Now, let's talk about my daughter Katie, who is currently 7 years old. People are often amazed when they see her. Being mixed Japanese and Greek, our child is truly beautiful, and I couldn't be prouder to be her dad. Of course, every parent feels that way about their kids, but these days, I'm also realistic enough to see that Sabrina was either a lazy opportunist or, at worst, a shameless gold digger. I wasn't as clear-headed back then, so I didn't connect the dots and realized that she was likely using me to pay for her education and secure a house and child support before divorcing me and taking everything. Sometimes, in moments of vulnerability, I like to think that maybe Sabrina didn't plan it all that way and that she actually loved me, at least to some extent, at one point. I was working full-time, so Sabrina would drop off our child at her parents' house most days while she attended classes. After a couple more years, Sabrina finally finished her MFA. Throughout this time, I thought our marriage was going well. I had a reasonable work schedule, spending time with my wife and daughter. We did all the usual things like going out to dinner, taking trips, and celebrating anniversaries. You know, the typical married life stuff. So, here's the deal. Sabrina always used to go on and on about how much she loved me and how I was the love of her life and all that jazz. But guess what? One day she comes up to me and hits me with the classic, "I need space" line, which basically translates to, "I've been cheating on you for a while now, and I couldn't care less if you find out." Naturally, I ask her if there's someone else involved. And you know what she says? No one else. She just needs to find herself. Yeah, right. So I ask her, what does needing space actually mean? Is she planning to move out or what? Haha, I can't even begin to explain what a gullible fool I was. I ended up staying in some cheap motel room and paying a ridiculous weekly rate, while still keeping up with the expenses of my 3-bedroom house, just to give Sabrina her so-called space. And get this, she was kind enough to let me into my own house on Sunday so I could see my daughter and pretend to be a happy family, at least for a little while. Can you believe it? Well, you can probably guess what happened next. After just a month of me living like a happily married man in that Motel 6, Sabrina drops the bomb and says she wants a divorce. I had been heartbroken ever since. All that talk about needing to find herself was complete bullcrap. So the divorce announcement wasn't really a shocker, more like the final push. I asked her again if there was someone else involved, and she had the audacity to say no. She just told me she no longer loved me. I had come to accept this, so I wasn't completely devastated that Sabrina was leaving. It meant that instead of being a complete family all the time, I would have to share custody of our child. Did I mention I was gullible? Sabrina didn't want to share custody. She wanted full custody, so she fabricated claims about me being offensive while I was away at Motel 6. She went to her parents and told them how I had been offensive for years, even using the fact that I went to judo practice once a week as evidence of my aggression. She said the same things to the judge, and on top of that, she accused me of mistreating our 3-year-old child when I tried to argue that Sabrina was making it all up. She also claimed that I was emotionally hurtful and verbally cruel to her. When I countered by explaining that I agreed to stay at the motel because she said she needed space, she called me a liar. I won't go into all the disturbing details, they're really unpleasant, but the judge, who was relatively young but cynical like someone much older, sided with Sabrina and denied me custody, granting only supervised visitation rights. As Katie grew older and started understanding things, Sabrina filled her mind with negative thoughts about me. It got to the point where Katie refused to even see me for supervised visits. I don't know if Katie herself said, "I don't want to see my dad," but she would definitely tell me that our daughter didn't want to spend time with me. She always conveyed this through text messages. I sometimes wondered if I could catch her admitting, maybe on an audio recording, that I had never been offensive and that she was a big liar. But I think she was afraid of that too. So she preferred texting because she could choose her words more carefully. A whole year went by, and during that time, I continued to pay the mortgage on my house, which I couldn't even live in, and I had no sudden access to my daughter. Then one day, my boss called me into his office and let me go from my job. Since it was a regular job, they could fire me without providing a specific reason. I had been well-liked and productive at work, so my team was shocked to see me carrying a box of my belongings to my car as days and weeks went by. Former colleagues informed me that there were rumors circulating in the office saying that my ex-wife had contacted our HR department and falsely accused me of not paying child support, being obsessed, and being an offensive husband. Now that I know what I know, I should have immediately informed my boss about my divorce and warned them about my ex being a bit unstable. I texted Sabrina to ask her about it, but she denied having any knowledge of what I was talking about. Some mutual friends who made me promise to keep it a secret told me that Sabrina had become a composition teacher at a community college after getting her MFA degree. It seemed like she purposely waited for the child and spousal support payments I made to accumulate and establish a certain standard that I would have to meet, regardless of whether or not I had enough income to cover it. Then, for her own reasons, she decided to ruin my career. Thankfully, I had received numerous positive references from my supervisors and bosses at my previous job, and I had skills that were in demand, so I knew I wouldn't be unemployed for too long. However, in order to continue making the payments for Sabrina's child support, spousal support, and mortgage without draining my savings completely, I needed something to sustain me in the meantime. That's when I started driving for Uber. This went on for a few weeks. I was interviewing with different companies, but I'd saved up enough money so that I wasn't desperate enough to accept just any job after completing a single fare as a rideshare driver. Then, I picked up a passenger named Victoria. She was around the same age as me, just 4 months older, and worked in graphic design. She had Italian heritage, but had lived in the USA her whole life and didn't speak the language. We start chatting, and before I realize it, we're in a relationship. She's fully aware of my situation. It's actually the first time I'm not pressured into labeling a girl as my girlfriend. Throughout these months, my lawyer tried to negotiate a reduction in my monthly obligations to Sabrina or changes in visitation rights, but without success. During the meetings, Sabrina's lawyer presents documents showing that her job is only part-time and doesn't come close to meeting her lifestyle needs. Interestingly, Sabrina herself never shows up to these meetings. Her lawyer represents her instead. Oh, I almost forgot. She even went ahead and obtained a restraining order against me from entering my own house, just to make her false narrative about me being offensive more believable. Haha, ridiculous, right? Anyway, yeah, I practice judo, but even my training partners tell me that I hold back too much, not wanting to make others uncomfortable or hurt anyone. So Victoria and I date for a few months. Meanwhile, I land a new job in the tech industry with a higher salary than before. Unlike Sabrina, Victoria has her own place and isn't desperate to move in with me. In fact, it's the opposite. Victoria actually asked me if I wanted to move in with her. I have my own one-bedroom apartment and I'm comfortable with where we are, so I told her I'd prefer to take things slow. As time went on, Victoria was totally fine with it. She tells me that she's attending community college to pursue an associate's degree in graphic design. Interestingly, despite not having any formal education, she's naturally talented and excels at her job. However, her employer won't give her an official promotion without some kind of college degree. Here's the incredible part. Victoria's English teacher, who happens to be my ex-wife, is a core requirement for her degree. Victoria never reveals to her teacher that she's in a serious relationship with her ex-husband. I asked Victoria to keep it a secret and not disclose my plan. To my surprise, Victoria not only keeps the secret, but even suggests additional details to make the plan even more effective. She manages to become friends with her teacher by gradually building a friendship, like suggesting grabbing a drink together after class over the next few weeks. Victoria gains the teacher's trust over time. She completes the course, earns a good grade, and maintains her friendship with the teacher. The interesting part is that Victoria obtains audio evidence proving that Sabrina works full-time at the college. It's funny how a few drinks during their friendly hangouts led to discussions about college teachers' salaries, creating the perfect opportunity to gather evidence. When someone thinks you're their friend and trusts you, it's amazing what kind of information can come up. They continued their routine of having drinks after evening classes. Victoria also manages to capture Sabrina mocking her ex-husband for working as an Uber driver on record. He has a master's degree in computer science, but works as a taxi driver. Ha ha, quite ironic. Gradually, Victoria managed to capture Sabrina on audio, where she admitted to being a liar, played along by pretending to make fun of pathetic exes and feeling superior to them. Victoria successfully recorded Sabrina confessing that her ex-husband was actually a harmless and timid person, like a nerdy character from The Simpsons named Ned Flanders. However, Sabrina also imitated my Japanese accent in an ignorant and offensive way, making inappropriate sounds like ching and chong a couple of days later. So this weakling never even touched you or your daughter? Oh my God, no. I would beat him up. Trust me, Sabrina. If you provoke me, you'll regret it. And if he ever tried to harm our daughter, I would do something drastic like poisoning him. A week later, I pretended to cry in front of the judge and convinced them to order him to pay a significant amount. Then I somehow managed to get him fired from his job. Why would you do that if he's a nice guy? Just for fun. Every time they went out, Victoria would eagerly show me her phone and play the recordings of what happened. I already had some solid evidence, but the highlight Victoria mentioned was about which guys in the English class she took with Sabrina as the teacher were attractive. Oh, she laughed with embarrassment because she's 28 years old, and most of the guys in the class were around 19 to 21 years old. That's nothing compared to Sabrina. At 33 years old, she proudly brags about having closeness with students all the time. She acts like it's no big deal. She was sending explicit texts to them even before she became a teacher. She openly admits that she had romantic relationships with her classmates while still being married. She boasts about how exciting it is to be close to them. In her shared office, she laughs about having closeness on another professor's desk without cleaning up afterwards or informing them about it. She also jokingly says, "Of course they slept with me. How else do you think some of those clueless idiots managed to pass through clever maneuvering?" Victoria actually obtained the names of specific students involved. All of this is quite disgusting, but at the moment, it's technically just hearsay, and Sabrina might deny it if questioned. It seems like something that the school itself should consider and make a decision about. Meanwhile, Victoria has earned her associate's degree and received a promotion at work. She manages to arrange a meeting with one of the school's top administrators to discuss an urgent matter and presents him with the recordings as evidence. She's thanked for bringing it to their attention and assured that they will take action. The part of the recordings that caught my attention the most was when Sabrina boasted about bringing students to her house and having closeness with them while Katie was present, and even doing pills with them in her own home. I didn't waste any time playing nice with lawyers. I immediately shared the recordings with my lawyer, but before that, I called the police. The aftermath was intense. Sabrina got fired from her job, had her degrees revoked due to academic dishonesty, and is now banned from teaching. The students who were subpoenaed for questioning weren't expelled, but they were strongly warned to keep any romantic meetings outside of campus and away from school employees. During a search of Sabrina's house, the police discovered pills, which led to serious consequences. Sabrina lost custody of our daughter, gave up alimony and her home, and is currently serving an 8-year prison sentence for possession, child endangerment, perjury, and making false police reports. With good behavior, she might get out in 5 years, but she will never have custody of Katie again. On the bright side, Katie is doing well. She loves Victoria and me. She's back home with us, and she's a smart, happy, and wonderful little girl. I also found out that Sabrina's parents played a major role in me losing custody by lying under oath about me mistreating my wife and daughter. So, I decided to pay a little visit to the police and shared some information about a murder that happened about 25 years ago. This led to the police getting in touch with the FBI and Greek authorities. Justice was served. Now, Victoria and I are happily married. We live together in our home with our daughter Victoria, and we're excitedly expecting a son in the fall. My parents can't speak English yet, but Victoria is learning a lot of Japanese, and I am too. This whole journey of being married and becoming a father has taught me that my brain may have doubts, but deep down, my heart tells me to have faith that not everyone is terrible. So yeah, I might still be a bit of a fool, Sabrina. I hope you're doing okay, but not as much as before. Thanks for taking the time to read my story.